Demonology by King James. Preface. To the reader. The fearful abounding at this time, in this country, of these detestable slaves of the devil, the witches or enchanters, hath moved me, beloved reader, to dispatch in post this following treatise of mine, not in any way, as I protest, to serve for a show of my learning and ingenuity, but only moved with conscience to press thereby so far as I can, to resolve the doubting hearts of many, both that such assaults of Satan are most certainly practised, and that the instruments thereof merits most severely to be punished, against the damnable opinions of two principally in our age, whereof one of the called Scot and Englishman is not ashamed in public print to deny that there can be such a thing as witchcraft, and so maintains the old error of Sadducees in denying of spirits. The other called Wyrus, a German physician, set out a public apology for all these craft folks, whereby procuring for their impunity, he plainly berates himself to have been one of that profession. And for to make this treatise the more pleasant and facile, I put in form of a dialogue, which I have divided into 3 books. The first speaking of magic in general, and necromancy in special. The second of sorcery and witchcraft, and the third contains a discourse of all these kinds of spirits and spectres that appear in troubles persons, together with a conclusion of the whole work. My intention in this labor is only to prove 2 things that I have already said. The one, that such devilish arts have been and are. The other, what exact trial and severe punishment they merit, and therefore reason I what kind of things are possible to be performed in these arts, and by what natural causes they may be. Not that I touch every particular thing of the devil's power, for that were infinite, but only to speak scholastically, since this cannot be spoken in our language. I reason upon genius, living species, and differentia to be comprehended in that. As for example, speaking of power of magicians, in the 1st book and 6th chapter, I say that they can suddenly cause be brought unto them all kinds of dainty dishes, but their familiar spirit, since as a thief he delights to steal, and as a spirit he can subtle and suddenly enough transport the same. Now under the genius may be comprehended all particulars, depending thereupon, such as the bringing wine out of the wall, as we have heard oft to have been practised in such others, which particulars are sufficiently proved by the reasons of the general. And such like in the 2nd book of witchcraft in special and 5th chapter, I say and prove by diverse arguments that witches can, by the power of their master, cure or cast diseases. Now by these same reasons, that proves their power by the devil of diseases in general, is as well proved that their power in special, as of the weakening the nature of some men to make them unable for women, and making it abound in others, more than the ordinary course of nature would permit. And such like in the other particular sicknesses, but one thing I will pray thee to observe in all these places where I reason upon the devil's power, which is the different ends and scopes, that God is the first cause, and the devil as his instrument, and second cause shoots at in all these actions of the devil as God's hangman. For where the devil's intention in them is easier to perish either the soul or the body, or both of them, that he is so permitted to deal with, God, by the contrary, draws ever out of the evil glory to himself, either by the rack of the wicked and his justice, or by the trial of the patient and amendment of the faithful, being awakened up with that rod of correction. Having thus declared unto thee my full intention in these treatises, thou wilt easily excuse, I doubt not, as well my permitting to declare the whole particular rights and secrets of these unlawful arts, as also their infinite and wonderful practices, as being neither of them pentient to my purpose, the reason whereof is given in the hinder end of the 1st chapter of the 3rd book. And who likes to be curious in these things, he may read, if he will be hear of their practices, Botanus Demonomane, collected with greater diligence than written with judgment, together with their confessions, that have been at this time apprehended. If he would know what hath been the opinion of the ancients concerning their power, he shall see it well described by Hyperius and Hemmingus, 2 late German writers, besides innumerable other neoteric theologies that writes largely upon that subject. And if he would know what are the particular rights and courtesies of these black arts, which is both unnecessary and perilous, he will find it in the 4th book of Cornelius Agrippa and Awarius, of whom I spoke. And so wishing my pains in the treatises, beloved reader, to the effectual and arming of them that reads the same against those above mentioned errors, and recommending my goodwill to the friendly exception, I bid thee heartily farewell. James R.